Oh, we're on.
I'm recording it now, so now we can edit this.
Fine, you can trim all these off.
Yeah.
Get all the swearing out. Fuck. All right, go.
Get it all out of the way now. Fuck shit.
Right, let's roll. What are we doing?
Well, I did do that intro thing. I know, I'll say that and you can tell me what you think.
Yep.
Hi,
Totally.
guys.
Okay.
Welcome to Zero to Prillion, Zero to Prillions, the podcast where Matt, Richie, and Woz bring you inside the walls and the journey on a real startup. We'll be super candid about all the amazing, the good, the bad, the ugly stuff. And we won't sugarcoat it. We'll be saying it how it is. Don't feel obliged to, but if you're a startup founder or investor, customer, or even a competitor, subscribe so you can be a fly on the wall. What do you reckon? Does that sound all right?
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Sounds way more professional than we actually are, so that's good. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Hit them with a bit of bullshit up front, and they're like, oh, these guys having their shit together? And then they'll be like, oh, wait.
Wait, no, they don't. They don't even know what they're talking about.
Clearly not.
Happy days. Well, did you guys read the run sheet thing that I sent through?
Absolutely not.
No. Yeah, ready
right.
now.
Quick
I'm
with an
writing
idiot.
stuff up.
Yeah, sweet.
So professional. Yep.
100%. Well, what we could do is, I don't know. It's just, well, I mean, you don't have to write it in there. You just have to say it. So, you know, what awesome thing happened?
Don't put them too far behind the curtain. Don't let them know that we're just doing it right now. Jeez.
Yeah, what awesome thing happened this week for you, Richie?
Well, it was probably like this morning, actually. So I was going through some of the people in my jiu-jitsu class, in the morning class, and like pretty much pitching our new version of how like Prillions about. And like one of the dudes said it like pretty well. Says like, you're just bridging the knowledge gap in real estate. And I was like, that's like a really good way to say it. It's perfect. Because I was explaining like, you got real estate agents and you got, people that do it themselves. And he's like, oh yeah. So like you guys are kind of in the middle and you're just bridging that knowledge gap. And then he went on and started like rambling about like car mechanics. He's like, the same can be done for car mechanics. It's like, fuck that. Sorry. They charge me like $60 to like clean a filter or something. But if I knew how to do it myself, if I had the knowledge, then I'll do it DIY and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, I think he made a really good point about how he kind of took what I said and positioned it. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah, that is good, eh? I always find it really good that
just throw that straight in the pitch deck.
Just bridging the knowledge gap. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we did like talk about that, but we didn't say it how he said it. But the way he said it was like, it's quite nice.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. What about you, Matt? What good thing happened this week for you?
As the vacuum cleaner starts in the background.
Startup life.
Well, I mean, obviously the awesome thing is Queensland beat New South Wales in the Origin. That's probably the top of it.
Shocking game.
I had lunch with friend of the pod, Gemma, yesterday. So I caught up with Gemma and kind of gave her a bit of rundown what we're doing, and she's like, "So you guys are going back into real estate?" I said, "Well, yeah, kind of." But she was talking about how she's kind of in that almost in what we call investigator stage, wanting to sell, and she's kind of, when I explained to her that idea of like, what's my house worth and how much could I get, all that kind of stuff we've been talking about, she's like, yeah, that would be really useful. She goes, I don't want to sell yet, but to have that sitting on a dashboard somewhere, or I could keep up to date and be like, oh, well, there's the one I want to buy. She's like, that would help massively, because she also says it would stop a massive amount of fights between me and my husband about what the house needs to look like. So yeah, it's a pretty quiet weekend on my side.
Yeah, nice. Well, I guess the awesome thing for me was I've been doing a fair bit of cold outreach to like investors and all that sort of stuff, and it just reminded me of my sales days back in the day of trying to refine a script. And like when you first start any business, you try to say something and you're like, that didn't work at all. That just fell on deaf ears. And then someone will say something like literally the guy that you were speaking to, Richie, and he just like gives you their feedback is like, oh, that's how I should bloody say it next time. And then you say it next time. So, and I've been like iterating on that. So I feel like I've stuffed up, it's kind of like the whole rule of like, you talk to 100 people, you might get 10 appointments. From those 10 appointments, you might get 3 actual like proper, like going through the due diligence, and you might get 1 sale. So like, just got to go through the numbers and try to keep refining my pitch so it gets better and better. So
Yeah.
that was a good thing that happened to me this week. So refining stuff. I wonder if there's any other people out there that actually have the same issue, or if it's just me.
Well, I think it goes to that kind of, you got to balance it between like, how do we make it clearer so that people, as you said, understand the problem we're trying to solve and the need we're trying to service, but not so much that we take it away and it becomes this morphs into this whole thing because you're trying to make everybody happy and it just snowballs into, I don't know what it is anymore, but it's not what we were doing. So as long as those iterations and those changes are about improving the messaging, then it makes total sense. Like I'm putting in the bits that make it clear, and it's that constant kind of elevator pitch thing, which is real popular in the startup world. Like what's in 30 seconds? If you can't do it, the other one I like is if you can't explain it to like a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old, then it's not. You don't understand it. I don't care what it is. So you've got to kind of keep doing that, but as long as it's within reason. I think we've had some good conversations around that. I think if anything, like Richie's point from his mate at the jiu-jitsu saying you bridge a knowledge gap, that's a process point. That's not a people point. Like that is the process is ambiguous. It's grey. And that to me says that means that our decision earlier in the week to go away from talking about people experience with individuals in the space and more about the overall process is, I think, one person's not a consensus, but it starts to talk to that's a more of a valuable way of positioning it than just like the experience. The customer service is not great, which is effectively what we've kind of talked about,
It's funny, actually. I was staying at my brother's last night in Melbourne here, and he said he's telling me about his mate who just sold his mate bought a house, and then he had to sell his house. And so when he put it up for sale, he was like, what's going on? And it's like, all right, there's not been many open homes and all that sort of stuff. Or not many people through the open homes. And he went to the person selling it and was like, what are you doing for marketing? And he's like, oh, just the regular stuff. And he's like, can we put some flyers out? Can we put some flyers out? Can we do some like, advertising on like social media and all that sort of stuff? And then the person was like, yeah, I guess we can do that. So it's like the person selling the house had to go and request that because they didn't actually know that was available. I thought that was really interesting. It's like when we do, I thought it was interesting in terms of like when we're doing it, we're going to make it really obvious that you have full control over, you can do anything you want. It's like if you want to do this extra thing, you're going to get extra results. Like if you want to do a flyer drop around, like all your neighborhood telling everyone that your property is available, because most people move within a suburb or within a suburb and a half and all that sort of thing. So they tend to move to a suburb where they might know somebody else. So it's a good way to advertise it because, you might pick up the flyer and be like, oh yeah, cool. Oh, this house is for sale down the road. I'll tell Matt that this house is for sale because he wanted to move to the suburb I live in. And then it kind of goes from there. So I thought it was interesting that the guy didn't actually know what was available and he had to go and ask, is there anything else we can do? And then the person said, oh, I guess we could do some other stuff. But then the guy was like, can we do some flyer drops? And it's like, yeah, we can. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, I feel like that's just real half-assing it. Do you know what I mean? So, and then when they did all the flyer drops, they got the offers, which is interesting. So, and he sold his house.
Yeah, it just speaks to the process.
Yeah. It's like being clear on the process to everybody and making sure it's like super upfront.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think with
nice.
like what Quilty said, like you have variable experiences with the customer service, but the process is pretty stock standard to be, long, time consuming, and just like there's that knowledge gap in that process. So that's probably the easiest thing to target as opposed to like a variable customer service pain point, which, some people might have good experiences, some have bad. And you just can't like group that together and make a product based on that.
What about the shit things? What shit thing happened this week?
Really shit things, but I got to take care of the house. Just me and my younger brother. Dishes are piling up and everything. Parents are off to Bali. Fucking sucks. So yeah,
adulting's hard, buddy. Adulting's hard. Mum and Dad have left. Oh no! I bet you got a bloody dishwasher too, don't you? You got a dishwasher?
Yeah, I do. But
and the dishes are still piling up. You, God, I remember being a young useless bloke. When you get older, you become an older useless bloke. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So is your fridge just full of pizza?
No,
Just
I
like
just went
stacked up
grocery
with
shopping.
Dominoes and
Nah, I'm trying to
2-minute
like,
noodles, mate.
nah, we're doing a little cuisine every single day. So yesterday we had burgers. Today I'll be making like
So
Indonesian
yesterday you had
food.
Uber Eats. That's not a
No,
cuisine,
no,
mate.
no, I cooked it myself.
the dishes are still piling up.
Oh,
We're
too
running out
good.
of dishes to like, cooking. We might have to use the paper plates.
Mate, you've got to go paper plates. Haven't you worked that out yet? You just
No,
tip
we
the
just did
whole
that.
thing in the bin. Mate. The other option, I've lived in share houses before where you like got so bad, like in old footy share houses where you like everyone got one cup, one set of cutlery, one plate, one spot. So that was it. You were responsible just for your life. It was like camping. But like, so you never had to worry about any washing up anybody's stuff but your own.
Yeah.
So turmoil
funny.
was when one mate's, the boy's girlfriends at the time came over and she washed everybody's and we're like, oh, this is all right.
She's a keeper.
Devastated when they broke up. Like, what are you doing, mate? She's a great girl. Oh,
Nice. Nice. What about you, Matt? Any shit things happen this week?
No. Oh, I've been doing cold outreach, but for something slightly different. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Making those calls and refining scripts, and
Yeah.
it builds resilience, is what I've been saying. And like we spoke about a few weeks ago, that like I measure rejections. Like I try and hit a rejection limit. I crushed it yesterday, so I'm really proud of the fact, which is like not great when you think about it. But yeah, so no, it's been a pretty good week to be honest. It's freezing up here in Brisbane. It's 16 degrees. That's probably the shittest thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm reading this, listening to this audiobook called No, or I don't know, something to do with no. I can't remember what it's called actually. And it's interesting. It's just like start with no. When you reach out to someone, you're like, look, if this is not for you, that's fine. Just say no. And you go, and then just take off the pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, right. Just like look for the no. And then as soon as they say no, then you try to go down. Like you need a no before you get a yes. And I was just like, yeah, I guess it's like usually there's like what, remember back when I was doing sales, it was like 10 no's equals a yes. So you just got to get them to say no 10 times about different things. And then, so yeah, start off with saying no. Random thought.
Okay.
So what we spoke about this, what we've done this week, you can refer to the notes if you want, guys, because I wrote it down. What did we spoke? We spoke about investors not changing the wind. Changing like the wind to get their feedback. And that reminded me of, Chris. I don't know, you guys don't follow AFL, but Chris Scott is like the Geelong coach, and he always says, you don't have to tweak it too much. It's usually you're just off. And so when people give you feedback, it's like, oh, you don't have to pivot. And it's like, you don't have to change like the whole thing. You just have to like tweak this little bit or just re-explain how this tiny little thing works. But usually you've got like a fair bit of it there. And I reckon we've got a fair bit of the business model there. It's just about explaining it, I guess, and making it simple. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, I think like we said in that chat, like it's important to take that feedback and you've got to kind of balance everything, like quantify and qualify. Like one really noisy, powerful person, as we've been a part of organizations, can usually have too much sway and crush great ideas. But at some point when there is a weight of consensus, you've got to like, maybe this isn't a great idea or this isn't the right customer. So, you can't just kind of be black and white because humans aren't black and white. And we all know that they are very poor at explaining what they need and want. So, yeah, I think it just kind of builds. Like, I don't think yet we've had anyone say that's the worst idea I've ever heard. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So until we kind of, that's the extreme, but you just kind of, got to keep having that chat and refining and trying to find where that real problem is. And then if the problem's painful enough and our solution's easy enough, will they give us money? Is effectively what every business comes down to. Does my product or service or need relieve enough pain or add enough pleasure that you will give me money?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And it's about it is about refining it and like not really. Well, so sometimes you want that crap feedback as well, so you can work out what little tiny things you're missing. Like when some people don't actually give you proper feedback, and they're like, "Nah, it's just nah." They go, "Yeah, nah, that's nah."
Yeah, no.
And you go, oh, that's fucking terrible. It's like, why don't you just give me some proper feedback and be like, this is shit about it, and this is shit about it, and this is shit about it. And it's like, oh, cool, thanks. I appreciate that. Much more
Yeah,
than I
but then
appreciate the
it's on
yeah,
us.
nah.
It's
Yeah.
on us, like we said, like, like a no. Okay, cool. So what would it take to get you to a yes? What are the things? Like, I understand that you're out. This isn't for you, but what would it take? That's valuable feedback. Like that's what you'd say. This. So it's on us to then ask follow-up better questions rather than go, sorry, sir, apologies, sir, and run away.
Yeah. And it's like with customers and all that sort of stuff. Like we've been doing a survey recently, haven't we? It's like we sent out a survey, which Quilty did, and it was great. It was great. We got some good feedback. I think we got, how many responses did we get? I don't know. We didn't send it out to that many people, but we got like a good 20 plus responses. And a lot of the feedback was really good. Some feedback was pretty agnostic.
Yeah.
There was some gold in there. I remember one guy, he said, there was a lack of information and communication available, which seems that the vendors and agents use this to their advantage because he was a first home buyer. That's kind of like what you were saying about the guy that you were speaking to at Jiu-Jitsu. It's like we're bridging the gap of the knowledge, and he obviously didn't have that knowledge, so then he felt like he was getting taken advantage of, which is an interesting take on it.
It's like we kept talking about a couple of times. Like it's the largest transaction you'll probably ever make, and most people make it maybe twice. To be honest, like you might buy and sell maybe 1 or 2 homes, not a whole lot. And because you don't do it regularly, and because it's such a huge amount of money, you're like it just adds the level of risk and anxiety up, right? So in the same way, in many respects, like for your health, you could look after yourself, but you go to a doctor, you go to your PT. You could look after yourself as a PT, but you kind of you seek the advice of others who are perceived experts in that field because there's so much unknown in that. There's also a massive time factor as well. I just couldn't be asked dealing with this, and so that's also important as well. But I think I think as you said, like there is a massive knowledge gap, and we should providing people who want to know with an easy way of finding the information will add value.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's also interesting. One of my mates said he tends to go more on the DIY path where he kind of wants to do outside stuff by himself, but he gave an example of building a pergola. It'll take him maybe 4 days to do it, buy all the materials, labor, time. But if he can get someone to do it in 2 days and pay them a bit of money, then he saves on time and he saves on resources. So it's all those sort of factors kind of contribute to the decision of should I do it myself or should I offset it to someone else? And I think we've just got to make it more favorable. Our platform's got to be more favorable to be cool, do it yourself. The knowledge is all going to be there. And I guess the time factor, the expense has to be taken into account to not push them over to the extreme of using a real estate agent and to not push them to the other extreme of I'm just going to do everything myself. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think we've spoken about this before, but I don't think we're going to have customers that are in that wealthy bracket that just want to do it themselves. I don't think people are going to use that. They're going to use an agent.
Yeah.
And they're going to be I'll just...
unless it's a property investor, right? They want to flip houses. They want lower commissions. And if it's on a platform, everything's just managed kind of quite easily.
I guess if we can make it so simple that people can, even doesn't matter what house you want to sell, it's so simple that it is it's way easier just to do it through the platform because you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So, it's just a few clicks of a button. It's even less work than using the traditional way to do stuff, the traditional process. Sell a house.
Well, if you look at Amazon, in the way they've expanded, and their ability to sell online, and particularly in the States, same day delivery and stuff, they've changed the retail experience. And the retail experience, the core of it was customer service. But the process was the same. I had money, I needed a product, I would go and I only had one option: go to the source of the supplier or the distributor of that product, being the store. Now they're a great example of we don't have to do that anymore. I can, and I cut that. The process is the same. I give you money, you give me a thing. But it removes that kind of customer service element. And again, some people have good and some people have bad, right? But overall, it's forced, I believe, with no retail experience, that it has lifted hopefully the quality of overall retail. Because if you're going to, like, certainly of shopping centres, like they've gone away from just a bunch of shops. They've, in North Brizzy and Chermside's nearby, like they've got they're more of a restaurant precinct now than actual. It's like the shops are secondary. You go there for dinner and movies. You don't go there to shops as much. It's kind of flipped the priority. And that's got mates who work for large construction companies who are being offered tenders for other shopping centres who like copy that, like build us that, because it's an experience. They want experience, not just a shop, and they have to find different ways. And that, I believe, hopefully has lifted the overall quality of that of retail customer service. That's a very broad, wide-reaching, controversial statement, but that's what you hope. Like when you've forced an industry to adjust to survive, hopefully the quality lifts, right? Because if it doesn't, you die. And I'm not like, again, also not saying on the flip side that we're going to be the Amazon of property, but it's the concept, right? So like people had variable experiences and something like, well, those who had bad experiences didn't need to go through that again. And those who had meh experiences, but those who wanted high-end quality experiences would still go, to the actual stores. So it could be interesting to see if that's a path that we end up going down. But I think it's similar if we consider it from the perspective of a process rather than a people thing.
But we could definitely aim to be the Amazon of property. I feel like it's a goal. Whether we can get there or not. Yeah. Nice. What else did we go through this week? We chatted about our problem statement in the pitch deck, not bagging on people and more bagging on the process, because we're not playing in the same space as them. We're basically creating a new space.
Yeah.
What else did we talk about? Reaching out to VCs. I've iterated over like the pitch deck about 4 times this week for all those startup founders out there. Basically, that's what it's like. I never see that when you read all this stuff about pitch decks. You go, this is what you need. 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 Then you just go get investment, and it's like, I don't think that's how it works at all. I feel like you go, this is a pitch deck. We're going to iterate on this. Got to iterate on this. Got to iterate on this, and then constantly just iterating on it, talking to people, iterating it, talking to people, iterating it, which is funny because that's where we're up to at the moment, trying to raise our pre-seed round. So I did also on a totally different note. I was reading this stuff this week. So the Queensland government put out this thing that's like they've invested in heaps of these. They're investing heaps of money in Queensland startups. And when I was looking at it, and then I was like this other thing, it was like, and then this other government's like invested heaps in South Australian startups and Victorian startups. Because we're like a remote startup, I was like, do we just count for everything? Are we like Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria? Because I'm in Victoria, Rich is in New South Wales, you're in Queensland. Does that mean we're just like the agnostic? We can just go for everything? Like, or does it like, reckon they'll accept that?
Anybody wants to give us money, I think we should be rather broad on our criteria. Like you said, cold entry to investors, like, where are all the people with the bags of money? I'm happy to hold your bags of money. If some of that, and look, hey, if you get it back from the government, I like to think of it as a tax return. Like it's every time, that's kind of how I think we should view it. Woo, tax break. But yeah, like I don't think we should leave any stone unturned.
Yeah. I thought that was funny. Cool. Well, have you got anything else to chat about?
No, but I'll finish with a dad joke before I go.
Yep.
I know 25 letters in the alphabet. I don't know why.
Okay.
Oh, mate.
I think the other thing we've got to do it. Like, where the hell was that quote that you said the other day? That be a lion, not a caterpillar. I was going to put that. That's right. I put that in the closing credits. I was like, thanks for listening in the room. And remember, lions aren't scared of caterpillars.
Mate, that makes no sense. I made that up on the spot. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I was going to ask what's the message.
Lions aren't scared of caterpillars. Well, they're not, though. It's like, so. Yeah. But anyway.
Stay tuned. Come back for more random crap.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
That's it. So,
right, boys, that was good.
Good days. First one. I'll get this chopped up, and I don't know. I guess we'll just.
Do you want to edit it or? Will you be
Yeah.
reading it?
Yeah, I can edit. I mean, I've got to sit on a plane next week, so or like on Sunday for like about 8 hours, so I might as well just do it then.
Well,
Fine.
I've actually got this one quote that I wanted to like. I was reading in the Zero to One book, which is quite interesting. So they're like, contrarian thinking doesn't make any sense unless the world still has secrets left to give up. What's your like take on that?
Ooh, that's deep.
That is
Like,
deep.
yeah, I think
What's
like the way I just understood it is
I'm
like
going to have to Google what
thinking outside
contrarian thinking is, mate.
yeah.
Yeah, it's about to say
Yeah,
that.
I had
What's
to do a little
contrarian?
lookup. Yeah, I had to do a little lookup on the iBooks app. It's pretty cool. It just
So,
means like away from popular opinion, like the mainstream. So like outside the box thinking. I think that's so like
so
thinking outside the box doesn't make any sense unless the world still has secrets.
well, thanks for listening, and remember, lions aren't scared of caterpillars. A random thing that Quilty said. So congratulations, 70% of listeners don't actually get to hear. So if you're a startup founder, investor, customer, or even a competitor of ours and want to stay up to date with our roller coaster of a journey, hit subscribe so you can be a fly on the wall. Stay awesome.